There's a great book from 1971 that Martin Pawley wrote, a pamphlet on, it was called Architecture versus Housing. And I think it was always, the title of that book has always stuck in my mind is when I was given it when I was a student, you know, which suggests that somehow housing and architecture are something different. And I think this is, you know, it's one of the challenges, I think, with trying to produce good quality housing. How do we take something of an idea that's design related, and we all want to create as much social activity as we can. You know, that's the things that really start to animate a place. But, you know, Kate will talk about this, I'm sure, but the housing system, which is that the architect becomes part of a much bigger complex puzzle. And it's all about negotiation, and we need to understand the economic drivers to be able to influence decisions. Otherwise, developers just tell you what to do.
I think the issue that we're having in Melbourne now is that we really don't have much of a planning policy in Melbourne to protect our suburbs and development. And we really are living in a developer's, market, basically. And I think as an architect, you really need to think about what separates you from a developer. And I think it really comes down to the ideas.
I mean, you have to remember that all projects you design in architecture school, including for this competition, are speculative. So you can say whatever the hell you want. You can be like, architecture should do this. This is the future of architecture. This is what I want architecture to be.
You know, you think about the suburban context here, which is so generic. You know, so to get a richness in that architectural language is something I think we're all craving.
I think it's really interesting that kind of, and it's come up in the other presentations too, there's sort of, it's really wonderful to see how the form's derived and what's generated it. I think moving forward into other studios in your degree, I feel that you need to always be aware not to be too shackled to it. Don't ever feel like you can't defy the convention. So where you've got a 3-bedroom house and you've got 2 bathrooms sitting next to each other, maybe that was really important for you to have them. Okay. If it's not, and you've just done it because you think, you know, a developer might do it or a real estate agent likes to sell them with that, then don't. We're architects, we need to be questioning the whole time and trying to really interrogate, is that the best use of materials and the best use of cost in these projects, or is it not? If it's critical for adaptability or for multi-generational living, then I think it's fine. But if it's not, then I really think we have the responsibility to question it and see if we can not put that space into somewhere else in the house where it might be more beneficial.
So this comment comes with a big asterisk at the end. I absolutely love this project, Eve. Asterisks for this brief. So what I mean by that is that it's completely over the top. It's idealistic. I have no idea where all the extra money is coming from to build all these lovely maker spaces, but I love it because, you know, the whole point of this brief is to pitch something that it's a future house. Like, it's something that we can aspire to eventually do at some point. And I think you have completely met that in every sense of the word.
Where I grew up, all of the neighbours had gates into each other's backyards, and the kids would kind of go through all the neighbours' backyards when they were playing, and it was very much a private but very much public space at the same time, which is kind of a nice return back to not having such demarcated private space and ownership of land and all that sort of mentality.
But I really like this notion of privacy. I think often we assume that people want to live very communally, and that's potentially not the way that people want to experience home and retreat. So I like that as a notion.
Congratulations to all of you. Obviously, we've had crits all this week, so we've been saying this a lot, but you guys don't really... well, you probably do, but you know, it's hard to appreciate how difficult teaching is as well. And obviously I commend Joel on this, but having good students ready to communicate, ready to have a conversation, it's a hard thing to find, and you're all obviously very willing to do that in such a difficult time. And once again, just fantastic results across the board. I think the one thing generally, as a comment I would like to express is the point I made earlier to, I think it was the Q, which was that don't forget that in architecture school, there's a lot of potential to really just explore projects to the fullest. And yes, some of them might not work. Yes, it's also speculative, but that's absolutely fine. This is the one opportunity you do get to really just go ham with some of those ideas and really explore them to the fullest extent, because having a really strong theoretical project in amongst your portfolio of obviously buildable works as well, it is a fantastic asset to have, because it shows, you know, if you're interested in employment, or even if you're going to do further research later on, it gives you a strong sense of direction, which I think a lot of students don't really appreciate from a master's degree in architecture. So make sure you're doing that. Make sure you're bringing in all your other works. Like, I don't know what specializations any of you guys are doing, whether it's digital architecture, fabrication, or maybe you're into the history and theory, but let that feed into your design work as well, because that's where the really, you know, you get really emotional projects, you get great projects in terms of the theoretical background, and that's where projects really start to shine. And especially for the years you're going on to thesis, that's really what we kind of look for in a Master of Architecture student. So yeah, good job, everyone.
Well done, everyone. It's been great to see your projects at mid-sem and between mid-sem and now again. I think there's been some really, really interesting ideas come up, and I mean, I think it's a great studio where you're able to reflect on your values in how you want to live, and also in what, you know, what communities need, which I think is not just a problem in Melbourne. It's quite a global issue in many urban development. So I hope that all of you have learned a lot this semester with Joel. You've been in very good hands, because I think the lessons you learn in studios like this, you really do take with you into, you know, into the world, into practice. So I think keep in the back of your mind these interesting ideas that you as a collective has explored when you do go into practice. It's really important to have, you know, good conscientious thinkers in architecture. So I wish all of you the best of luck with your future endeavours.
So much work in your drawings, you guys. Like, we recognize that, just someone working on multi-res projects, you just see there's just can be hours spent trying to get a plan working properly, and you've obviously invested that. So then you need to treat yourself to this other kind of layer of personality over the top of that, and to go and show that folio to an employer is a really compelling and convincing thing, because it shows this kind of competency, but it also shows this flair. So just make sure that you know, give yourself space within the semester to do both of those things. So leave enough time after you've resolved your plan to really go, okay, what am I doing here in terms of materiality? What do I want? What are the memories that are going to be evoked if someone visited this building? What will they, will it be an amazing color? Will it be in beautiful texture? Will it be the light? And try and really get that into your presentation, and make sure you leave enough time to indulge yourself in that really fun part of every project, because you've all certainly done the hard yards on that kind of background research, hard planning, and then there's just the sort of magic that has to happen at the end. And you know, the more time you can leave for yourself to do that, the more enjoyable these projects are, I think. But yeah, a total kudos to Joel. I think it's just such a high quality of work in this studio, and you know, for residential planning, which is a really challenging thing. So I can see there's been a lot of hours spent just really trying to get that right. It's really impressive. Thanks for having us.